And I love the
Uh-huh.
topic that you came up with this week for us, the haunted myths of home buying, since today is that googly and gnarly day.
It's
And
Halloween.
I know. We don't celebrate it really, but it's not like we're against it or anything, but we just don't
Yeah.
celebrate it ourselves. But
Yeah.
when the kids were younger, and school days, did your kids get to dress up for school today or?
So they had things for like the last 2 weeks. It was like one
Oh,
day was like a color day, and there was like a heroes and villains day, and there was like
oh,
cowboys and aliens day, and a sports day, and like all this kind of stuff. And so they've been having Halloween for like 2 weeks. So like when today's
oh,
done, I'm like,
wow.
I'm gonna be good on all this. Yeah,
You
for a
know
little while.
what? I feel that way too. I feel like October has been short and long at the same time. I don't know. It just feels like I'm ready for October to be over with for some reason. For
Yeah.
some reason. I don't
Well,
know. It
tomorrow's
just feels like that.
Christmas. Tomorrow's the
Christmas?
start of Christmas. Yeah, you see Mariah Carey like peeking out the door behind it, ready to start singing again.
Listen, I love it. I love it because me and
Me
Horace,
too.
we said starting November 1st, we was going to get out all our Christmas stuff and start
Mm-hmm.
putting out Christmas decorations. Because
Uh-huh.
you know what? It always feels like it's so short.
I know.
It's so short. It's like if you wait till after Thanksgiving in a sense to start putting things out, it's like,
No, no,
man,
no, no, no,
20
no.
days or 25 days you really get.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's not enough. It's not enough.
it's
No, I
not.
agree.
So, well, let's hop on in, hun, and we're going to talk about, like I say, the haunted myths of home buying. And so, our show theme ideas, one of our show idea we're going to do today is called The Haunted Myths of Home Buying. And we're going to explore some common myths that scare potential buyers that aren't as frightening as they seem. So, they're not as scary as you guys may
Right.
think these myths are, okay? And we're going to also talk about some real estate nightmares. We're going to debunk some buyer fears, and we're going to talk about some scary stories from the closing table that we may have experienced. All right. So, guys,
Mm-hmm.
today I am Kanisha Hay, your Jacksonville Dream Home Specialist, and Carly.
Oh, sorry, sorry, you're waiting on me. Sorry. Hi guys, I'm Carly. I'm Carly McLeod. I'm here in Jacksonville. I am a mortgage loan officer with Fairway Mortgage.
All right. And so, like I said, we're going to debunk some of these myths, these scary things that people like to talk about in real estate. And so, go ahead, Carly. I'm going to let you jump on into the financing myths that some people, are fearful of.
Yeah, so I think probably one of the biggest issues that people come to me with that is their fear going into the home buying process is their credit.
Yes.
And it's a huge one. And people feel like they have to have like perfect credit to be able to buy a home, and the fact is that's just not the case.
It's
Um,
not.
we have loan programs that go down to a 580. So you
Okay.
don't even have to be in the 600s for every program, and we have others that will go down even further. You can go down to even a 500 in some cases,
Oh,
especially
wow.
if you have what they call compensating factors. Like, yeah, your credit's maybe not good, but your income's good, or you've got a healthy savings, or you plan to put a decent amount down on the home.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, so there's different programs that can help you in different ways. So you do not have to have a perfect credit. And even if you come into the situation and your credit needs help,
Yeah.
we're not gonna throw you to the wolves or say, okay, your credit's not good, bye. We'll talk to you when it's good. We have, I mean, because it's just, we want to help you get there is the intent.
Exactly.
So we can do, number one, we can do soft pulls. That's a huge thing. We didn't used to be able to do that. So
Hmm.
when you come into the situation, I know you're expecting a hard pull and a ding against your credit, and you worked so hard to build your
Right.
credit, and now we're going to cut it down. We can do soft
Exactly.
pulls. hmm
That's
So
good.
you can come
That's
into
good.
the situation with a soft pull, and that allows us to do all the same things that we can normally do almost. It allows us to do our credit simulator, so we can look at
Hmm.
your credit and say, if I paid down this card this much, if I took myself as an authorized user off of this account, if I paid off
Mm.
this small collection that I had, whatever the cases
Yeah.
may be, we can simulate your credit and tell
And a
you,
lot of people need that.
yeah, and that's not reserved either to somebody who's in the 500s or lower. That can be somebody who's a 650, but
Exactly.
we know interest rates get better once your credit score is higher. So we
Higher.
also have the
Exactly.
ability to look at that and say like, okay, well, what would it take for you to get to a 700 or something like that, and
Mm.
see what that would cost, and um, you can decide whether whatever the action that you'd have to take to get there are worth it.
Yeah,
So,
and let me
we're
jump in, Carly. And that's one of the reasons why I did decide to work with you, Carly, because I like that you meet people where they are, right?
yeah,
We need loan programs for that, because people, I have this theory that people just don't know what they don't know at the end of
exactly.
the day, right? And so they come to us, the subject matter experts, and they're looking for that assistance. So, what better assistance than to say, hey guys, come here to me. I understand that you're working on your credit. I'm not going to get you into this program that is going to ding your credit. I'm going to do a soft pull, right? Just so I can look in there and see what things, what elements we need to move around. Okay, you say you want this. We listen to what people are trying to, where they're trying to go, and you say, okay, I want this. So then I love that you're going to work with them and say, hey, you need to get to a 650. This is what we would do to get you to a 650 with that assimilation. I love it, Carly. That's what
Yeah,
they need.
yeah. Yeah, and it's an easy thing, and anything that requires more severe credit repair. We work with credit repair people that do very reasonable
Oh.
monthly costs for credit repair. So if you have something like maybe you were in a bankruptcy, or
Mm-hmm.
you just have fallen behind for whatever reason, you have a bunch of collections, charge-offs, all that kind of stuff, we can put you in longer term credit repair too. So there's nobody that can't be fixed. It just takes time
Time.
and effort to get there. And if you're somebody who doesn't have credit, let's say that you're younger
Mm.
and you're newer, that I prefer that. That's easier. Because we can put you in, like, it's an easy thing to do. We basically have to put you into like a prepaid card
Okay.
that you put money on, and you spend it up, and then you pay it down, and you spend it up and you pay it down, and that creates credit
Exactly.
for you, and you're somebody who's really easy to get to where we need to
Mm-hmm.
go quickly. So, whoever you are, wherever you are, start the process. Don't let your credit stop you from starting the process, because we have to
Exactly.
figure it out. And what you think will help your credit will not always help your credit.
Ooh.
This
Talk
is
about it.
huge. I had this conversation this week actually, because they're like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, we're just going to pay every credit card that we have down to 30%, and then we'll come back to
Ooh.
you." And I said, it could help, it may
Right.
help, but you're essentially shooting in the dark right now. You are
Exactly.
just you're trying things, and unfortunately you're spending money to try things, which is in my
Mm-hmm.
head the key that says, no, 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 let's not do that, because sometimes
Yeah.
it does not help. Sometimes it does,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes it doesn't.
Exactly.
So we can do simulators that will show us nothing's 100% sure, but they're
Mm-hmm.
almost always 90 or above, and they'll tell
Right.
us like, pay this card down $300, pay this card down $300, and as long as you don't do anything crazy and add new credit or have a
Mm-hmm.
collections or anything like that, missed payments, then you'll get where you want to be. So go into it with a plan, basically.
Exactly. So debunk
Hmm.
that myth of
Yep.
needing excellent, superb credit.
Right.
I've even closed many deals at 580. I've
Yeah.
closed
Oh,
deals
yeah.
at 580.
For
Um,
sure.
the difference is maybe they have to bring a down payment or a little extra closing costs, possibly. Um,
Yeah.
but or even accepts a higher interest rate. We've seen
Yeah.
that before
Yeah. Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
so
And that's
debunk
something you can
that one.
refi out of. Debunked. You may not love your payment
Exactly.
now. We can refi that later. So,
I'm gonna I'm gonna start. I gotta give an example because I've had someone, right. I don't think people are understanding that having a lower interest rate right now is the best thing possible. So when a seller is giving you a credit to buy down that interest rate, that's like gold right now
mhm.
because
Mhm.
the house prices here in Jacksonville are lower than majority of these other cities that's here in Florida, right? And so while Jacksonville is on an uptick, all right, so our home prices are going up. They're not actually coming down here. They've came down and leveled earlier this year and a little bit in the early summer. But as of right now, they are actually on the uptick. Carly, I've been experiencing multiple offers and cash buyers back in the market like strong, right?
Yeah.
And if you're able to get a lower interest rate right now with these prices of the homes, right now. When the house prices go up, you don't have to worry about that you're gonna have to now get into the market and now you got to pay those prices. You would have gotten in now at wherever the market is now, and your interest rate will be lower, right? And therefore now your payments will be at a really low price. I had that
Mhm.
scenario where this person couldn't look past the price of the house, and their interest rate, Carly, was about to be 4% or
Mhm.
4.5%. And now I see interest rates at 7 point something something percent, right? And I'm like, get this 4 something percent, but I can't make someone do something, but they're not
Right, right.
understanding. They're thinking, oh no, the house price is this. And I'm like, listen, the house prices are going up. They're not going
Yes.
to go down. And
Yes.
even if house prices go down, I'm trying to tell people, even if it goes down, you need to look at historically, house prices have risen.
Yeah.
Even if they took a drop, they're
A
going to come
little bit.
and go and go right back up. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're able to get in and get this interest rate low right now, get it and run with
Yeah.
it. Okay.
Yeah.
So I just had to throw that little nugget in.
Yeah.
Um, Go on. We're gonna go on to the next myth, Carly, where it says
Yeah.
self-employed buyers always have it harder. Is that true?
No, no. I mean, self-employed income, really, it's not harder on you. It's just harder on us to calculate. That's really
Oh,
the only
okay,
difference.
okay.
The only difference. So we, with self-employed borrowers, we are looking at your taxes. And the only thing about that is that people always on their taxes are attempting to have the lowest, basically reporting their income as low as possible so that you pay the least amount of taxes on it, which I get.
Exactly.
You don't want a huge tax bill or you want to get money back or whatever. But from a mortgage standpoint, then we look at it and we say, oh, well, you only make this amount of money, right?
Mm,
So when we're going to pre-approve you for a house, you're saying, oh, I'm making $200,000, $300,000 a year. I'm like, well, you
right.
only reported 50 of it to your taxes, so I can only use 50.
Mm,
So especially now that we're coming to the end of the year and we're starting to think ahead to like filing
exactly.
taxes in the next year, keep that in mind if you want to buy a house and you are a self-employed borrower, because
Hmm.
we're going to base it off your taxes, right? So, if you think you're going to be buying in the next year or two, don't take all the write-offs. Show us the income exists.
Hmm.
There, you know, listen to
Hmm.
your tax professional basically, because that's the end of the day. You have to listen to your
Yeah.
tax professional. But you need to consider that. And self-employed borrowers, you only have to be in the job 2 years. So we're going to need to see 2 years of taxes. So, you
Right.
don't need to be in it for 5, 10 years. It's okay if you switched from you did something before you were self-employed to now.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
if you've been in the business for 5 years, we actually only need to see 1 year of tax returns for some programs. So,
Okay.
if you had a really good year last year or something like that, let's report all that and let's go off that if you've been in the industry for a while. Like say you're a real estate agent and you've been in the
Exactly.
industry 10 years and you had a great year this year, which I don't know many people that
Okay.
did, but
Right.
it's
Right.
just a
Right.
crazy market. But if you did, then let's report that and let's go forward with that on your tax returns, and that's what we can use as your income. So no, you're not more, it's not more difficult. It's a job, and we just have to see your income. Whereas everybody else gets a pay stub and a W-2, you don't get that. So we just got to see it on your taxes.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, great. So it's not that is not doable. It's not
Absolutely.
that it's harder on the actual buyer. What it
Mm-mm.
is it's just a little extra paperwork that Carly got to do. So
Yeah,
you ain't got to worry
that's
about it.
fine. Hey, it's a little
You
extra
got to worry about.
calculation. We have worksheets. We just plug and chug, plug and chug. It's
Yeah.
not crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's go on then, Carly.
Okay.
The next one says all mortgages are 30 years fixed, right?
Yeah. Yes. So I'll say a couple of things about this. So no, all mortgages are not 30-year fixed. And typically, if you can get away with doing a lower term, like let's say a 15, a 20, a 25, you usually will
Hmm.
get a better interest rate for that. And the amount
Right.
of total interest that you pay over the life of that loan, if you do go, the full
Hmm.
term, you'll pay so much less interest.
So
I
less.
so less. Dave Ramsey has a mortgage payoff calculator. Dave Ramsey, you just type in Dave
Hmm.
Ramsey mortgage payoff calculator, and you'll look and see what you say. Even if you put like $100 extra towards your mortgage a month, you'll cut like
That is so
years,
true.
years, and
Hmm.
we're talking 5, 6 figures off of your mortgage by just paying a
Hmm.
little extra whenever you can, you know. Um, so yeah, they're not all 30 years. There are even some products that are interest only for a certain amount of
Mhm.
time, which is
Mhm.
nice.
Mhm.
Especially if you know, like let's say you know I'm going to be selling in 5 years. I know you're military, maybe you know you're not going to be here more than
Right.
5 years or something like that. Um,
Mhm.
and you want to go ahead and get like an interest only product, you can do that, and then you're only paying interest during that time. Now you're not paying any principal, so you're not moving the equity needle on
Equity.
your home,
Exactly.
but it makes your monthly payment lower if that's really the
If
biggest thing
that's
to
your
it. And you,
judge, I would never recommend that.
no,
But if
I
that's your
wouldn't
judge
recommend
and
that.
you just want a low,
Yeah, or it's something like you can add principal every month when you have it. You know, let's say you get a
mhm.
bonus check or something one month and now you want to put that bonus towards
Exactly.
principal. Yeah, yeah, but I'm with Kanisha. These products can be a little scary because you do have to eventually pay that principal. But if you're in a
Exactly.
situation where like I know my income's going to be a little bit less for a couple years, well, I'll catch up and
Ex-
I'll make it up,
mhm.
that might be the thing for
Mhm.
you. Maybe you're in law school or medical school or something like that, and for a couple years you're not gonna
Exactly.
make money, but then you're gonna have a big payday in the future. Maybe that's something for you.
Maybe that's an occupation for that.
Yeah,
That's true.
yeah. So yeah,
Hey.
15, 20, 30 years, adjustable rate stuff is the same.
Mhm.
Those can be a little scary because your interest rate adjusts with the market. So
Yeah.
if interest rates go down as a whole, you benefit, but you then run the risk of if they go up, then you don't benefit. So
Exactly. Exactly.
that's
Yeah.
for specific people.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and whatever that need may be. So let's go on to number two. It says tricks and treats for home buyers, right? We're gonna
hmm
give some tips and a little bit of tricks, and then we'll go back to some tricks, some tips. I said tricks. So we're gonna do some tips and some tricks, okay? So get pre-approved, not just pre-qualified. What is your take on that, Carly? You know how I
Yeah.
feel about that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And especially if you are one of those self-employed borrowers, I highly recommend this.
hmm
So what I do for you when I get your application is I review it and I calculate your income and I issue you a letter to go shopping with Kanisha. Um,
Yep.
but ultimately, the gatekeeper in any mortgage situation is the underwriter. They are the gatekeeper. They have the
Oh,
final say. They
yes,
are
they
the
do.
ones ensuring that when your loan closes, it can be sold in the secondary market. So
Mhm. Mhm.
what we want to do is have underwriters review it. And when they review it and they have given you their stamp of approval, it's called conditional approval. It's basically you
Yeah.
as a borrower are approved, and the only piece that we have left is the home. So we just have to make sure the home passes all the inspections.
Mhm.
It
Mhm.
makes Kenisha's life a lot easier going and submitting your offer because there's so much less risk. You're presenting an offer to
There is.
somebody who's already got that stamp of approval, who's already gotten all the skeletons out of the closet, whatever they may
Mhm.
be, if anything weird comes up. And it just, you're much more likely to get your offer accepted when you submit one, when you come in with that underwriter stamp of approval.
Exactly. And on my take of having that pre-approval versus the pre-qualification is, as a real estate agent, I'm taking you out looking at houses and things like that. And hey, we may go look at 5 houses, we may go look at 10 houses. Some people we may go look at one house and that's that house for you. But if we're going around town and everything like that, looking at these houses, I need this guarantee that when we make this offer and we go through this process, that you're going to be able to purchase this house at the end. Nothing is worse, and this is one of those scary stories, than to get a couple days before closing to only know that, ooh, we just saw this on your credit report. We're not going to be able to complete this. And you have spent money on inspections. You have put money down for the binder. You have spent money on the appraisal.
hmm
We have spent gas money back and forth to houses and things like that, only to come to the end and hear that you're not going to be approved for this loan. It is heart wrenching.
Yeah.
People have cried.
Oh yeah.
You can't get the money back. So I try to educate people, and I let you know, let's get this pre-approval from the jump. I like to work with lenders that's going to work with you and get that pre-approval because I don't want to see you sad at the end. You're going through this process, and me and Carly both want to see you happy and celebrating at the end, not in
Mhm.
tears, right? So we get this
Right.
pre-approval to save all of us the headache at the end. Because once you have that money, that's just like going to go buy a new car. I don't step on a car lot without having
Mm-mm.
my pre-approval from my bank. All right, I have to have a pre-approval is almost golden because only thing left, like Carly said, is the house. Okay, and once we get the house part figured out and we get the appraisal and the house appraises that value, everything else is going to be fine, right?
Mhm.
All
Yep.
right, the treat, Carly, we're going to talk about is take advantage of down payment assistant programs. That is
Mhm.
big.
It's big, it's huge, and especially here in Florida, everybody wants to talk about Hometown Heroes, and Hometown Heroes is great. But Hometown
Hmm.
Heroes runs
Hmm.
out of money in about a snap of a
Wow, real
finger,
quick.
and then everybody thinks they don't have anything anymore, and they do. The same
Hmm.
the same organization that does Hometown Heroes does multiple other down payment assistance programs. Okay,
Okay, that's awesome.
they do so many, and even if you're buying, $100,000 house, you can still get $10,000. And on
Oh,
these,
wow.
what I
Hmm.
love about them is that the interest rates, especially on an FHA product, are very competitive. Like on
Okay.
an FHA loan right now, I've seen news recently that they're toppling up and around 7%.
Hmm.
On the
Hmm.
Hometown Hero, or not the Hometown Heroes, but the Florida Housing Bond Program that I use all the time,
Yeah.
it's a 6. It's a flat 6. So it is a full point below what you might get in
What?
a regular FHA loan.
So I would even direct
Hmm.
people to go
Yep.
get that so you can get that 6%. What?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Now a lot of these programs, the money that you get is not a grant. So it's
Right.
not, you have to repay it basically.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
it's repaid when you sell the home, refinance the home,
Right.
all this kind of stuff. So it's just
Hmm.
going to come out of whatever existing equity you've built in the home. So,
Exactly.
you'll if you stood to make $100,000 when you sold the home, now you're making 90. So,
Yeah.
it's a pay it forward type of thing as they call it. But
Hmm.
so many good
Hmm.
things about it. The restrictions are a little tighter, but it gets you into a home and it gets you a good rate.
Exactly.
So like,
Exactly.
and when people hear down payment assistance, they think it can only apply to the down payment itself. No, man,
Hmm.
it closing costs. Your
Talk
total
about it.
closing, yeah, your total closing costs are your down payment plus several other things. We just look at it
Yes.
as a whole number. You owe $15,000 and you got $10,000 of that covered, so you got to cover five, for example.
Right.
So
Hmm.
we're not dividing it into, oh, down payment only assistance. No, it
Hmm.
covers everything.
Hmm. That's
Um,
awesome.
hmm So look into
Okay.
that wherever you are. Almost every state, I believe, has some sort of program like that. So
Hmm. Hmm.
make sure that you're working with a lender that is competent
Knowledgeable.
in. Hmm Yeah.
And knows about it because Carly be, yes, we have this program available. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Yeah, I think people are afraid to do them for some reason, and I don't really understand that. But
Paperwork, laziness.
it's
Yeah.
like doing two loans in one, which so people don't want to put in the effort, but it's not.
Exactly.
It is minimal extra effort. So look into it. Definitely ask questions about it.
Wow. All right. And then now consider homes with seller credits to save on upfront costs. So, guys, one trick that I like to use is before we even go to take a look at a house, sometimes I like to contact the agent and find out are they giving any kind of seller credits, right? Because that's big, right? And so, if you do need concessions, just know that the contract, everything in the contract is negotiable. I love to go in first and just ask. Let's find out what it is you need and let's just ask for all of it, right? And then from there we can negotiate and see what the seller is able to give to you. Sometimes it'll be different terms. Sometimes maybe a seller will say, hey, I'll give you this closing cost if you allow me to stay in the house maybe an extra couple days past closing day, right? That's like a lease buyback, but instead of them giving you physical money, they say, okay, I'll help you with your closing costs, right? There can be different instances where we can negotiate, hey, instead of this repair item that we do, you help me with the closing costs, things like that. So there are concessions that we can go to the seller. And I always say, ask. You cannot get it if you don't ask for it at the end of
Right.
the day. And that
Yeah.
coupled with some down payment resources, girl, you can get in this
Mm-hmm.
house for
For
nothing,
free. Mm-hmm.
for
Yep.
free,
For nothing.
for free.
Yep. And
Hmm.
it's happened and we've done it. So we
And
know
we
that that's the
have
case.
done it. We're
And
not
it's
telling you something that
common.
we've not.
No.
It's
And it's
very,
common right now. Right now it's a
hmm
buyer's market. So you guys have the
yes,
leverage. So ask for it because I see
hmm
in more often than not they'll give it. So
exactly, exactly.
yeah.
Hmm. All right. And so don't be afraid of the fine print is what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about like some contingencies, right? So I know our contract is very long, right? And so I would always tell my clients, review it, and then sign it, right? But we always have like little nugget parts in there that we're going to point out to you. Like, well, at least I like to point out to my clients, and I send them out by line item, letting you know sales price is this line item, your earnest money is this line item, so you can see them boldly, and you're not guessing and going through 11 different pages trying to find out where is the sales price, where's the earnest money, how many days I have for the inspection period. So I like to just bold those out for you so then you're not guessing. But we also have contingencies throughout the contract, guys, to help you so that you're not falling into traps and things like that. So for instance, one contingency, or I should say some contingencies that we have in place, is like your financing contingencies, your inspection contingencies, and your appraisal contingencies. And so the financing contingency that we normally have in place is we'll say, I'll give you maybe 20 days financing period where we say the lender would get you conditionally approved, right? That's where we say, hey, get that pre-approval up front. That save us so
Mm-hmm.
much time,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because then once we find a house, right, and we go on the contract and you're turning in all your loan documents to your lender has X, Y, and Z amount of days according to your contract to get you approved. We know that sometimes we'll be waiting on the appraisal to come in, but that's fine. We're talking about being approved by your documents and your numbers, right?
Yeah.
So you'll be given a period of time. So what we do is we put that contingency in there that we say we're going to give this amount of time to get the loan period. We will check with your lender first to ask your lender typically how much days do you need. That way we're keeping track. And if we do come to that period of time, if I'm coming in within like 5 days of that approval period and I see that, hey, it's dragging on, I will reach out to your lender, find out, hey, are we close? If we're not, if they're running into some issues, because this is depending on each individual. So each individual may have some issues. And if you're facing an issue, then I need to go back to the seller and say, hey, seller, can we extend this financing period because we are running into X, Y, and Z issue? That way you do not lose your earnest money or your binder, okay? The other contingency is your inspection contingency. With that contingency, we're asking the seller, hey, give us X, Y, and Z days. Typically, I'm asking you for 7 to 10 days, seller, to get the buyer in there, to hire their inspector to go ahead and inspect the property. That inspection can entail the entire home. It can be the WDO. It could be the 4-point. It could be the WIN. If it's one of the rural areas and it has septic, it could be a septic inspection. It could be a well inspection. If it's a VA loan, it's mandatory that that well water gets tested. So there are
Mm-hmm.
different inspections that have to be done. So therefore, that contingency that we have in place for you to go in and get that inspection, we have that written into the contract. And that's one of the items I bold out for you to say, hey, is these days good for you? And typically about 7 to 10 days is good, right? The other contingency is the appraisal. That is the biggest contingency, guys, because we're saying in there, if the house does not appraise at that value, then hey, either the seller and you renegotiate your offer and come to an agreement to come down to that sales price, or if the seller say, hey, this is my bottom dollar, I need to get this number, and if we can't get to this value, I'm not dropping it any lower. If that's the case, then hey, you say, okay, seller, I understand. You're gonna back out the offer and you're gonna receive your binder and earnest money back. So those are some of the contingencies that we like to put inside the contract. And on the buyer side, of it, a contingency that most buyers I see come in with also is they have another home to sell, right? So we always need to put that contingency in the contract and let the seller know, hey, seller, I have 1234 Main Street over in Colorado or wherever you were residing at. I need to sell that home prior to being able to purchase your home, right? And let me tell you, buyers, most sellers are going to say, hey, where do you have that house on the market already? Let me get that contract. Let me see that you have that house on the market already, right? Because they want to see, hey, if I sign up with you, we're going to be able to close in a certain amount of days, right? So
Mhm.
those are some of the contingencies that I look at or I come across day to day, right? And as is clauses that's inside of the contract that a lot of people are so scared of, right? And the as is nothing more than the seller saying, hey, you're going to accept this house just the way it is. However, remember I told you inside the contract, everything is negotiable. So therefore, that's where you're going to ask for your inspection period. And during that inspection period, once you get that home inspected, they can say as is all they want to. If this house is deficient and it can't pass, if it's a VA loan or if it's a FHA loan, if it can't pass those appraisals, then guess what? That house is not going to sell. So typically what I've seen most sellers do is at least at a minimum, they will fix those appraised items that need to be fixed that according to the lender. So we call those lender required repair items. So most sellers will. So I want to debunk that as is, as is. So if it's as is, I'm going to walk away from this deal. No, there is room for negotiation with as is deals. Okay. And then the next thing is earnest money deposit. Many buyers worry about losing this if something goes wrong. Can you lose the earnest money? Yes, you can lose your earnest money. However, that's another contingency. Well, if we follow our contingencies that we have written up in the contract, then your earnest money is safe, right? Meaning, if we have this 10-day window of inspection period, right? As long as we cancel during that inspection window, during that 10-day window, you will receive your earnest money. And during the appraisal period, right? If for some reason, like I said, that you and the seller cannot come to an agreement on that appraised value, then you get to back out and get that earnest money there also, right? So that earnest money is not lost. I like to tell people that it's still your money, it's being held at the title company, right? And you and your lender decide what you want to do with it, right? You can use it for various things in the transaction, whether to buy down your interest rate or other things that they can pay for throughout the transaction, your closing costs, for instance, also, right? And that was a lot that I just said. You want to add anything to that, Carly?
No, no. I
Mhm.
mean, I think you said everything well, that the contingencies are things that not only your realtor is looking at, but we're looking at
Mhm.
too. So,
Yeah,
you have to have a team that's working together that has all of these stuff in mind. So remember, you have multiple
exactly.
people keeping track of these, not just you, not just your realtor. We're all
Mhm.
mindful of these numbers, so keep that in mind.
Exactly. Good. All right, now House of Scary Rates. The payment fear factor, Carly.
hmm this is the biggest issue right now, I think, in everything because not only have
Yeah.
homes gone up in value in the last couple of years, but I think we all know that rates
Mhm.
are historically very average. But when you compare them to what they were 3 years ago, they
Yeah.
feel high. So
Mhm.
there are ways
Mhm.
around this. Obviously, one of the biggest things that we see right now, and again, this is sort of a seller credit thing, is something called a buy down. So this is an interest
Yes.
rate buy down. So your realtor can get you seller credit money that can go towards buying down
Mhm.
your interest rate. So what does this mean? So if
Yeah.
you do something what's called like a 2-1 buy down, that
Mhm.
means for
Mhm.
2 years you're buying down your interest rate. So let's
Yeah.
say if you were to go under contract today and you didn't do any sort of buy down and your interest rate was a 7, if you do a
Uh-huh.
2-1 buy down, your first year is going to be a 5. So the first 12 months is a
Exactly.
5. Your
Mhm.
second year will be a 6. And then
Mhm.
your third year and everything out from there, from whenever you still own the
We'll
house,
go to the
is
regular.
back to that
Mhm.
original rate. So That's huge. And one of the even bigger things that's beautiful about these, we call them temporary buy downs because it's not a permanent
Uh-huh.
thing. You're not permanently in this buy down.
Exactly.
Is that this money is held in the same account where your taxes and your insurance are held. These are called escrows.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
a beautiful thing about escrows is whenever you sell the home or refinance the home, anything that's in that escrow account comes back as a check to you. So we
Mm-hmm.
love that about temporary buy downs because it's basically
Yep.
just money sitting in accounts to be used. Whereas you always have the option of a permanent buy down, which does
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily involve the seller, but it's something that you can say, and it can be, you can buy your rate down an eight. You can go from, you know, a 7.5 rate to a 7.75, 7.375. And
Right.
then you pay a small fee to get there. So that's always possible, but those are a little
Mm-hmm.
bit different. Those are not held in an escrow account. That's just money you pay at closing. So once you've paid that money at closing, now that money's gone. You know, it's permanent.
Exactly.
Your rate
Mm-hmm.
is permanent from that point
And
on.
your
You're
money is
never gonna,
permanently gone.
but your money is also permanently gone. So I lean away from those in this market because I think so many people buying a home now likely will refinance their home
Mm-hmm.
in the next year or two
Exactly.
when these
Mm-hmm.
rates do come down. So I sometimes I worry that that is money not well spent. But this is
Mm-hmm.
this is discussions that we have with you as a buyer. I mean, if we can get it down to, you know, a five or something like that, where you, I don't know that we'll get past fives in the future, even when rates do come
Mm.
down. Maybe then we're
Yeah.
okay there, and that permanent buy down is a good option. We'll talk. We'll talk about all these things, but just know
Yeah.
that you have ways and means of getting that interest rate lower, and a lower interest rate, in case I haven't stated this specifically, means a lower payment, right? So, you know, and
Exactly.
that's what we're all coming in with. And if you're in Florida, get your homestead exemption. Get your homestead exemption
Yes.
if you're buying a primary residence.
Yes.
And something else, portability is another thing that I'm going to tell you about. So in Florida, you get
Mm-hmm.
$50,000 off the value of your home. That means your
Right.
home, if it's worth $300,000, is only taxed
Mm-hmm.
as though it's a $250,000 home. So
50.
you're missing out on,
Mm-hmm.
like, you know, that's a sixth of your tax bill that you don't have. It also
Exactly.
caps the amount of money that your home can,
Can
tax
go.
rate can grow in value to 3% every
Exactly.
year. So if these rates do come down and mortgage rates or the value of your home shoots up like it did in 2021
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
2020
Mm-hmm.
when everybody and their mom was buying and refining, yours is capped. Yours can't move. But one that people
Yes.
don't talk about is
Mm-hmm.
portability. So portability means
Okay.
when you move, if you move from a primary residence in Florida to another
Uh-huh.
primary residence in Florida specifically, you can't take these savings to a different state. But
Talk about it.
whatever tax savings you had built up in that home, you can take with you to your next home. Did you know that?
Okay.
hmm
Give me an example, Carly. What are you talking
So,
about?
so let's say that your home is only currently being taxed as though it's a $200,000 home because, like I said, it's capped at the amount that it can grow. Let's say your
Right.
home is only taxed as 200,000 home, but the value of your home is $300,000. You can take that
Mm.
$100,000 savings that you're getting to and apply it to your next home. So let's say your
Oh.
next, did you know that?
Oh wow.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So it's called portability. You have 3 years to use it. So once you sell that home, you have 3 years to use it. So you don't, if you forget about this or you're in that window, look this up.
Mm-hmm.
So you can take that to your next home and lower your tax bill on that next home.
Oh
It's amazing.
wow.
I actually work with somebody. I've learned a lot about this in the last year or two working in the divorce world. There's something called, I'll plug them for a real quick second.
Yes.
MyExemptionCheck.com. They are experts in portability. So if this is somebody, if this is you and have moved recently and did not take that with you, look them up and they can help you get that
Yeah.
portability transferred. It's a thing.
Okay. So let me see if I understand correctly. You're saying I own a $300,000 house.
Uh-huh.
I do my homestead exemption and I get a $50,000 exemption there,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
You're saying because it's $50,000 on this house and now I move to X, Y, and Z. Let's say that exemption over there is smaller or something, but I could use this $50,000 exemption over there.
Well, you can take your homestead regardless, right? You can move your
Right.
homestead from one to the other. But let's say when you bought the house, it was $200,000, so you're only being taxed as though it's 150.
Right.
But your home is now worth 300. You know, it was
Oh,
200, now it's
right.
worth 300, but you've been capped because of that 3% growth every year. You're not getting taxed as though it's 300. You're getting taxed as though it's,
Oh,
maybe at that
wow.
point 160, 180, I don't know, who knows, what the number is, but you're getting
Yeah.
taxed a much lower because you've had that homestead. Yeah. So that savings that you've accrued by
Yeah.
not having it, you can take that elsewhere.
That is awesome. That is
Hmm.
awesome for those people because a lot of people are on the fence right now because they're like, hey, I have this low interest rate and I don't want to
Hmm.
move to this other house that's going to be added cost. Now you could think like, hey, you're going to get a savings in a sense because you're going to have that tax bill from this lower price house that you're going to buy this new higher price. Wow.
Hmm. Yep.
Okay.
Portability.
Thank you
Yep.
for that
It's called.
nugget. That is a good
Yeah.
nugget right there. You say
Yeah. Yeah.
portability, portability?
Portability. Portability. Yep. If you want to learn more about it, I think myexemptioncheck.com, um, they're a great source. They're local to Jacksonville. It's a father and son team here in Jacksonville that does it. So you're kind of supporting local
Okay.
people. Hmm.
And they're
Yeah.
my exemption
Myexemptioncheck.com.
check. My
Hmm.
exemption
I think
check
that's what it
dot
is.
com.
I'm gonna type that in really quick, make sure I'm not telling you wrong.
Okay.
Myexemptioncheck.com.
Check.com. Because that is
Uh-huh.
great
Yeah.
news.
Looking to lower your property tax bill? Yeah. Hmm.
Okay, good, good. Okay. All right. That was good.
Crazy, right?
Good nugget. Heck yeah, that was
Yeah.
good. All right, and we already talked about the adjustable loan already.
Yeah.
I mean
Yeah.
adjustable mortgage rate already. Are there any other loan product options, Carly, outside of anything that we've talked about already?
That can give you a lower payment. Yeah, yeah, actually.
Hmm.
If you are in a conventional loan, there are things, so Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are the two types of conventional loans that you can do. Fannie Mae and
Okay.
Freddie Mac both have something called Home Ready and Home Possible. Each one of them, I can't remember which one's which.
Okay.
But if you are under a certain income, you can get lower interest rate and taxes, or interest rate and mortgage insurance on the home. Because they're designed for, and I don't even think they're first-time home buyers. I think it's just under like area median income or 80% of area
Mhm.
median income. If you're under
Okay.
that, then
Okay.
they'll give you, and it's not a huge, but it's usually like a quarter point interest rate improvement.
Hmm.
It's definitely
Any
working into.
little helps.
Uh-huh. Yeah. If that's ever available in your conventional, I'm always looking for it. So you don't even need to
Yes,
ask about it. I got you if it is, because obviously I want to get you a lower interest rate. I don't want you to pay a crazy payment. But yeah,
exactly.
it's the only other thing I can think of. And there are some different programs like that that they just offer to certain classes of people that are under certain limits. So
Right.
yeah, last
Okay.
thing. Yeah.
Right. And then let's talk about the last thing here. And this is the bridge loan, right?
Hmm.
The fear of selling
Yes.
first. Like I have a lot of people that come to me, especially this year, Carly. I've had a good amount of sellers that have came to me and they want to buy and sell. So they want to sell the house that they're currently in and go
Hmm.
purchase the other house. And yes, I have done those, right? But now
Hmm.
learning more about the bridge loan, I'm like, that would have been a great option for these guys.
Hmm. Yeah, so this is a big fear if you're an existing homeowner because you worry about
Hmm.
that time frame. Like, am I going to be able
Hmm.
to like I want to start looking and I'm interested in moving, but I need the proceeds from the sale of this home to be able to afford my next home. I can't come
Exactly.
up with all the extra funds I need to buy this new home without selling it. That's where a bridge loan comes in. So you can go ahead and put your offer in and move forward with your other new purchase. And we're
Hmm.
basically taking some money out of your existing home to be able to do your down payment and closing costs on your new home. And then
Awesome.
when your
Hmm.
departing residence closes, then
Right.
whatever fees and stuff that the program costs, the bridge loans cost, we'll take it out of the proceeds from this.
Wow.
Okay?
And see, and that's so awesome because now we will have that time, a seller will have that time to be home and still be comfortable.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, I'm taking them out to go look at houses, and then we can make an
Hmm.
offer on that house, close on that house, and then now that house there gets sold, and now you pay back that loan that you
Hmm.
need, that you used out
Hmm.
of your current house. So it's pretty much
Yeah.
like you're getting that. We talked about it last week, HELOC, but it's not a HELOC. It's almost similar,
It's a
but
little,
not. You know.
yeah, it's a little different. So, and you have a good
Mhm.
amount of time. Like Fairway has an in-house, we have several balloon options, but we have an in-house Fairway HELOC that is a 6 month term. So, and we
Mhm.
don't start the bridge loan until you're under contract on your new home because it doesn't make sense to, because we're not, we
Good.
want to have all the time that we have. So it's a 6 month
Exactly.
term. And I know we have
Mhm.
other ones that go up to 12 months
Okay.
term with the bridge loan. So you have 6 to 12 months to sell your old residence beforehand. So
Right.
if you need to do some improvements in that time, if that's the reason why it's not selling, we need to paint some cabinets, we need to
Mm.
do some flooring, we have got time to do
Exactly.
that. So obviously, like everything, there's some rules and regulations with that. There are minimum loan amounts, so you can't
Mhm.
take $10,000 out of the home. I think it's like a lot of them are 25 to $50,000. And
Okay.
it essentially kind of functions as almost like a cash out refinance, but it's different. I probably
Yeah.
shouldn't say that. So
Mhm.
it's
It's a
eligible
little
on.
different, but
It's a little
the
different.
concept is almost the
The
same.
concept is that you're taking out equity from the home. So
Mhm.
like I said, it gives you that freedom of, okay, I'm going to go ahead and list and I'm going to go ahead and buy that home that I really want to buy, and I'm not going to worry about this existing one. So, for
Yeah.
example, but there are some restrictions to it, like there are with everything. I think you've got to have a little bit higher credit score. You got to have like a 660, 680 usually. Um, and you have to be under contract with your new one, and there's going to be a fee. So on this specific one, it's like a 2 points fee. So that'll come out of the proceeds from your existing home when it's sold. So it's
Right.
not some big check that you're cutting eventually. It's just you're going to get a little bit less back from sale proceeds than you would have otherwise.
Exactly. But it
Um,
was a comfortable shift for you.
but then that took that thought out of your head. Home is sold, good to go.
Good to
So
go.
yeah,
Good to go.
yeah.
And so I'm going to be using that moving forward. I'm
Hmm.
using it moving forward. Well, I have a question about that then, Carly. Now, in the event that the person must sell the other house, that contingency, right, must sell the other
Hmm.
house in order to purchase, would the bridge loan still work in a case like that? Or we're saying the bridge loan is for a seller that owns a house, but they just need extra funds to purchase a new house?
Yeah, that's what it's for. So you have to have owned a home already because basically we're
Okay.
taking equity out of that old home and putting it into the new home. So if you don't
Okay.
already have a home, it's like you're bridging think of it as a bridge between your old home and your new home, and this
No,
loan
no, no, no,
functions as a
no. No, no. What I'm saying is like, you know how some sellers, in order to purchase the next house, we get that contingency, say the debt to income ratio
yes,
is,
yes, yes,
you
yes.
know,
Well, so different bridges work different ways. Some
okay.
of the, so we have some as well that will agree to buy your home if for whatever reason it doesn't sell in the time period. Like we work with, there's one in Fairway, but we also have something called Calc. And
Okay.
there's another one too that you're signing a contract that says if you don't sell the home in like 6 months or whatever it is, that Calc or Fairway is buying that home and we're going to sell
Oh,
it. And whatever we sell it for is what we sell it for, which, you may not love, but if it goes above or below whatever you're expecting, Fairway
right.
will give you the difference type of thing.
Okay.
So you're
Well, that's good to
basically,
know.
yeah, so it's not as though you're safe, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like there are
Exactly.
things put
Oh,
in place that if for anything happens and the home doesn't sell in a certain amount, we'll still buy the home. Um, but yeah, it's still, you're good to go either way.
good. And this
Yeah.
is so great to know, Carly, because like I say, I get them all the time that they need
Hmm.
to sell and purchase simultaneously. So that will be great for us. Well, I'm
Hmm.
going to go ahead and end here um, with our debunking of house myths
Hmm.
or buying myths here, Carly.
Yeah.
I have another appointment I'm about to go jump on here shortly.
Yeah. Busy,
Um,
busy.
This was very, very good. Thank you for these nuggets,
Of
Carly, that
course.
you
Of
gave to
course.
us today. I'm definitely going to be using this bridge loan. I'm definitely going to be using it. Heck
Yeah.
yeah. All right,
Yeah, of
guys. Well,
course,
thank
guys.
you for tuning in. Thank you guys for tuning in again with us week after week. We'll be doing this again. We'll let you guys know in the social media when we're going to have the next one, whether it's going to be Thursday or Friday of next week. Okay, guys? Have
Hmm.
a beautiful, blessed week.
Bye, guys.
Till
Happy
next
Halloween.
time.
Bye.
Bye, love.
Bye, guys.